Commander Eli Grant stood near the wide window of the human exploratory vessel Vanguard, staring into the endless blackness of space. Stars blinked quietly beyond the glass. His shift was almost over when the red light flashed on the control panel. A distress signal. "Unknown source," said pilot Dana from the control seat. "Coordinates locked. It's near a gas giant in Sector 9. Eli moved quickly. "Turn the ship. Let's check it out." Captain Rhodes gave a nod, trusting Eli's instincts. As the ship turned, a cold silence filled the bridge. The signal was weak, fading fast. Whoever sent it might not survive much longer. Within hours, Vanguard reached the location. A small, broken alien ship floated above a cracked moon. Pieces of the ship were scattered across the rocky surface. Smoke rose slowly, and blue fire flickered from damaged engines. "No signs of life," said Dr. Marina, scanning the wreckage from orbit. "But something's still active down there, maybe emergency power." Eli suited up. "I'll go." He took 2 trained crew members with him and boarded the shuttle. As they landed on the dusty surface, the moon's light purple atmosphere shimmered above. It was thin, breathable only for a few minutes, maybe less, without support gear. "Keep your masks on," Eli reminded his team. "We move fast." The wreckage was sharp, twisted metal. As they entered what looked like the main cabin, their helmet lights reflected off blinking panels and broken seats. "Wait," one of the crew whispered. "Over there!" In the corner, under a collapsed wall, something moved. A small figure. Thin arms. Large, glowing eyes. The skin was a pale violet, and the body was tiny, no larger than a child. It was an alien. She was gasping. Her small chest rose and fell too fast. Her hands clutched her throat. The air here was not enough for her. She was dying. Eli dropped to his knees beside her, her eyes locked with his, wide and full of fear. Her skin trembled. "She won't last long, Dr. Marina said through the comm link. "She needs help now." Without thinking twice, Eli pulled off his oxygen mask. He gently placed it over the alien girl's face. "Commander," shouted his teammate, "you'll pass out." Eli didn't answer. He adjusted the strap so the IDR mask would stay on her. The alien breathed in. Once, twice. Her body slowly relaxed. Eli smiled a little, feeling dizzy. "That's it. Just breathe." Then everything went dark. Eli woke up to the soft sound of machines. The medical bay. He opened his eyes slowly. Bright lights, warm air, and a small, curious face looking down at him. It was her, the alien girl. She tilted her head, studying him. She looked stronger now. A small breathing mask was gently attached to her face, connected to a tank made by the ship's engineers. "You're lucky," said Dr. Marina, stepping into view. "Another minute without oxygen, and we would have lost you." Eli sat up slowly. "How's she?" "She's stable, heartbeat normal, breathing fine, but we don't know anything else. We've never seen a species like her before." The girl made a soft sound. She tapped her chest lightly and said, "Sorry." "Sorry," Eli repeated. "Is that your name?" She gave a tiny nod. "She keeps saying it," said Dr. Marina. "We think it's her way of telling us who she is." Eli smiled. "Nice to meet you, Sari." The girl reached out and touched Eli's hand, gently. Then she pointed to the oxygen mask beside the bed, the one Eli had given her, now cleaned and placed on a table. She pressed a small hand to her chest again. Her eyes shimmered. She remembered. She knew what he had done. Back on the bridge, Captain Rhodes listened carefully as Eli gave his report. She was the only one alive. No other signs of her crew. Her ship was attacked, maybe shot down. The captain nodded. "You saved her life, but now we have a new responsibility." Eli looked through the glass where Sari was now sitting peacefully, watching the stars. Her small hands traced shapes on the window, shapes Eli didn't recognize. "She's not just a survivor," Eli said. "She's the beginning of something bigger." The stars outside shimmered cold and bright. Somewhere out there, someone had tried to erase Sari's people, But now she had been saved. By a human. And that would change everything. The stars outside, the medbay window were silent, but inside the Vanguard things were changing quickly. Sari, the small alien girl Eli Grant had rescued, was now stable. She wore a new breathing device designed by the engineers. It fit her small face and gave her enough oxygen to stay alive on the ship. Every time she saw Eli, her eyes brightened. She followed him from room to room, like a shadow made of curiosity. Eli didn't mind. In fact, he had started to enjoy her company. She didn't speak any human language yet, but her emotions were clear. She watched how the crew moved, how they talked. Sometimes she copied their actions, tilting her head like Dr. Marina or nodding like Captain Rhodes. She was learning, fast. One morning, as Eli checked the supply room, Sari walked in quietly. Behind him, she tugged on his sleeve and pointed to the wall where the oxygen masks were stored. "You remember that, huh?" he asked. Sari nodded. She walked over and gently touched one of the masks. Then, she turned to Eli and pointed at her. "Chest, Sari," she said. Eli crouched beside her. "You know I gave you that mask, right?" She didn't answer in words. Instead, she gently placed her hand on his chest, then pointed back to the mask. "I think she's trying to say thank you," said Dr. Marina, who had just walked in. Sari looked at her, then at Eli, and gave a small bow. Later that day, the ship shook. An alarm blared. "All crew to stations," the captain's voice echoed. "Unexpected debris field, shields up." Eli rushed to the bridge. The Vanguard had entered a zone filled with floating ship wreckage, pieces of metal, burnt engine parts, and large chunks of destroyed vessels. "What happened here?" Eli asked. The pilot scanned the field. "Looks like an old battle zone, but no human ships." Captain Rhodes frowned. "Alien technology. Similar energy readings to Sari's wrecked ship." Eli's heart dropped. "You think this is where her people were attacked?" "Could be," the captain said. "We'll pass through carefully, no sudden moves." But just then, a warning lit up the screens. "Radiation spike in the rear cargo section," said the navigator. "There's a crack in the hull. Oxygen is leaking." Eli didn't wait. He ran. By the time he reached the cargo area, smoke was filling the hallway. Sparks flew from broken lights. A loud hiss echoed as oxygen escaped into the vacuum beyond the cracked hull wall. In the corner, trapped behind fallen cargo, was Sari. She had followed him again. And now, she was in danger. "Sari," Eli shouted. She coughed, her small body struggling to breathe. The emergency oxygen system in the hallway had shut down. The air was getting thinner. Eli rushed to her. He grabbed the heavy crates and tossed them aside one by one. Finally, he reached her. She looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. "It's okay, I've got you," he said, pulling her into his arms. She was gasping again. Just like the first time, Eli reached for his oxygen mask, but it had been lost in the run, torn from his suit by falling debris. "Sari, stay with me," he whispered. He looked around. Nothing. Then he saw it. A broken emergency kit, its case, cracked open. Inside was one small oxygen mask, half buried under a fallen metal beam. Eli crawled over, grabbed it, and checked the supply. One mask. Enough air for one person. He turned back to Sari. She was trying to speak, her voice thin. Eli, he placed the mask gently over her face. Just like before. "Breathe, Sari, just breathe." She inhaled. Her chest stopped shaking. But Eli fell back, coughing hard. The air was almost gone now. Through blurry eyes, he saw Sari looking at him. She realized what he had done again. Tears gathered in her glowing eyes. She pulled the mask off and tried to offer it back to him, but Eli pushed it back to her gently. "No," he whispered. "You first." Then the hallway door burst open. 2 crew members in full gear rushed in. "We got them." One of them placed a fresh oxygen mask on Eli's face. Air rushed into his lungs. He coughed, gasped, and blinked, until the world came back into focus. Beside him, Sari was safe, breathing steadily. Back in the medbay, Eli rested on a soft bed while the doctors checked his vitals. Sari sat quietly nearby, holding his hand. She didn't say anything, but her presence was enough. Captain Rhodes visited later and placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. "You saved her. Again." "She's just a kid," Eli replied softly. "Anyone would have done the same." The captain smiled. "Maybe, but not everyone would do it twice." Eli looked at Sari. She had drawn something on the table with a pen, circles and lines, a pattern. It looked like stars. "I think she's trying to show us something," Eli said. Dr. Marina nodded. "We'll study it." But Eli already knew. Sari wasn't just a survivor. She was a message, a voice from a lost world, and he was the only one who had heard it. The soft hum of the Vanguard echoed through the medbay as Eli slowly opened his eyes. For a moment, he didn't remember where he was. Then he turned his head and saw Sari sitting in the chair beside him, holding his hand. Again, her breathing mask was still on, connected to a small portable oxygen tank. She looked calm, but her large eyes were filled with worry. When she noticed Eli was awake, her face brightened instantly. Eli smiled, his voice weak. "You stayed here?" Sari nodded. She didn't speak more than 1 or 2 words, but her actions said everything. Dr. Marina walked into the room holding a tablet. "You gave us another scare, Commander." Eli sat up slowly. "How long was I out?" "Just a few hours," she said, checking his vitals. "You gave her the only working oxygen mask again. You really have a habit of giving up your air, don't you?" "She needed it more than I did," Eli said with a small smile. Marina sighed but smiled too. "Well, this time you were lucky. We got there just in time. Another minute and... well, never mind. You're okay. And so is she." Eli looked at Sari. "She tried to give it back to me, you know." Dr. Marina raised an eyebrow. "She did?" "Yeah," Eli nodded. "But she needs to live. Whatever happened to her people, she's the only one we've seen." Marina looked thoughtful. "That may be true, and now she's showing us something new." She handed the tablet to Eli. On the screen was a drawing, copied from what Sari had drawn on the medbay table. It showed stars, circles, and strange lines connecting them. "She drew this again and again," Marina said. "At first we thought it was just shapes, but after scanning it we realized it's a star map, and it doesn't match anything in our database." Eli's eyes narrowed as he studied the image. "So she's trying to tell us where she came from. Maybe. Or maybe where the rest of her people are." Sari noticed them looking at the screen. She stood up, tapped on the tablet, then pointed to the window. Out there, the stars blinked slowly in the void. She pointed again and made a soft sound. "Home." Eli felt a chill. She wants to go back. Later that day, Eli walked with Sari through the ship's quiet hallways. She held a small stuffed bear, something a crew member had given her. It was almost the same size as her. She liked to press its hands together and mimic the clapping games she saw the engineers playing during breaks. She was learning fast. Not just words, but emotions too. As they walked past the common room, a few crew members stopped to wave at her. Sari shyly waved back. "She's becoming part of the ship," one of them said. "She's already part of the crew," Eli replied. Back on the bridge, Captain Rhodes and the science team studied Sari's star map. The coordinates pointed to a small region on the edge of known space, outside the normal trade routes and marked as unexplored due to strange radiation levels. "It's not a safe area," said the navigator. "Scanners don't work well there. Could be dangerous." "But it could also be her home," Eli said. "We owe her at least that much." The captain leaned back in his seat. "You want me to take this ship off course into a strange sector of space to follow a map drawn by a child from an unknown species?" Eli didn't blink. "Yes, I do." There was a long silence. Captain Rhodes looked at Sari, who now stood beside Eli. She seemed small, quiet, but full of something powerful. Hope. "All right," the captain said finally. "Prepare the jump. We follow the map." In the quiet hours before the jump, Eli sat with Sari near the observation window. She leaned against him, watching the stars. She didn't speak, but he could feel her trust. "Do you think they're still out there?" he asked softly. "Your people?" Sari looked up at him. Her eyes blinked slowly. Then she gave a single nod. She believed it. And now, Eli believed it too. As Vanguard powered up its engines, the crew moved into position. Lights dimmed. The stars outside stretched as the ship prepared for a long jump into the unknown. In the medbay, extra oxygen supplies were packed for Sari. Engineers double-checked every system. No one said it out loud, but they all felt it. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. This was a journey to something bigger, maybe even a beginning. As the jump countdown began, Sari pressed her small hand to the glass one last time and whispered a word. "Family." Eli closed his eyes. He hoped they would find them. The Vanguard hummed softly as it traveled through the dark space between stars. The long jump had taken them far from familiar territory. Outside the windows, strange colors of distant nebulae painted the sky, but inside the ship the mood was quiet and thoughtful. Sari sat quietly in the medbay, watching the soft lights blink on the machines around her. She had changed since they found her. Her violet skin seemed to glow faintly under the ship's lights, and her eyes held new curiosity and hope. Eli entered the room carrying a small pack of food. He sat beside her and offered her a small piece of protein bar. Sari looked at it suspiciously. She didn't understand what it was, but slowly took a small bite. Then she smiled, a shy but happy smile. "Good?" Eli asked. She nodded. That small moment made Eli feel something warm inside. They were more alike than different. The days passed slowly on the ship. The crew worked hard to keep systems running and to prepare for whatever waited at the end of the star map. Sari learned quickly. She watched the engineers fixing equipment and mimicked their actions. She tried to repeat the words she heard in the ship's corridors. Sometimes she copied simple phrases like, "hello," and "thank you." One day, Eli found her in the observation deck. She was tracing her fingers over the window, drawing shapes in the condensation. "What are you doing?" Eli asked gently. Sari looked up, her eyes shining. Then she touched her chest and pointed to the stars outside. "Home," she said. Softly, Eli sat beside her. "Soon," he promised. Sari smiled, but then looked worried. She pointed again to her chest and then at the oxygen mask hanging beside the window. Eli understood immediately. "You're afraid," he said. "Of not having air?" Sari nodded, eyes wide. Eli reached out and put the oxygen mask gently over her face. She breathed in deeply and relaxed. "I'm here," he said. "You're safe." Slowly, a silent bond grew between them. Eli didn't need words to understand her fears or hopes. He learned to read the small movements she made, the way she touched her chest when she felt nervous, or the way she smiled when something made her happy. Sari learned to trust Eli. When he entered the medbay, she often reached out her hand for him to hold. In the quiet hours, she would lean on his shoulder. Eli thought about how small and fragile she was, but inside she was brave, braver than most humans he knew. One evening, Eli sat alone on the ship's deck, looking at the stars. Sari came to him and placed her hand on his arm. He smiled softly. "It's okay. You don't have to be afraid." She looked at him, eyes full of hope. Then she pointed again to the stars and whispered a new word. "Friend." The crew noticed the change too. Sari was no longer just an alien to study or protect. She was part of the Vanguard family. At meals, she sat quietly, watching the crew eat and talk. Sometimes she tried to join the conversations with small sounds and gestures. The engineers made a small game for her, a set of glowing cubes she could stack and arrange. Sari loved it. She would build shapes and patterns, showing them to Eli as if to say, "Look what I made." Eli would nod and smile. "You're learning faster than any of us thought." Sari's eyes brightened. But the journey was not easy. The ship faced constant challenges, strange radiation storms, system failures, and long hours of waiting. Sometimes the crew grew tired or worried. One night, a sudden warning flashed across the bridge. "Energy surge in the engine core," shouted the engineer. Eli and the crew rushed to the engine room. Sparks flew, and smoke filled the air. "Shut it down," the captain ordered. Eli worked quickly to contain the problem. Sari watched closely, standing nearby with a small oxygen mask on her face. When the crisis was over, Eli looked at her and said, "You were brave." She smiled softly, but said nothing. That night, Eli sat in the medbay with Sari. The ship was calm again, and stars twinkled outside. Sari reached for his hand. She touched her chest and said a word Eli didn't understand. "What is it?" he asked. She pointed to him and said clearly, "Family." Eli's eyes widened. He realized then how much Sari had come to mean to him and the whole crew. She was more than just a tiny alien girl. She was part of their family, their hope, and no matter what waited ahead, they would face it together. The Vanguard kept moving toward the unknown, carrying not just a ship full of humans, but the silent bond of friendship between two very different lives. Sari and Eli sat side by side looking out at the endless stars. The journey was far from over, but neither of them was afraid anymore. The Vanguard glided silently through the shadowy stretch of space where Sari's star map pointed, a dark sector unknown to most humans. The crew was alert, the tension thick in the air. Strange signals had begun to appear on the scanners. Small bursts of energy, almost like warnings. Captain Rhodes sat in his chair, eyes fixed on the main screen. "Keep the shields up," he ordered. "Stay ready for anything." Eli stood, nearby, watching Sari carefully. The small alien girl was quieter than usual. Her breathing was steady, but her eyes flicked nervously toward the windows, as if sensing something unseen. Suddenly, the ship jolted violently. Warning alarms screamed. "Impact!" "We're under attack!" shouted the navigator. Outside the viewport, shadowy shapes appeared. Fast-moving ships, sleek and dark, closing in from the void. "Unknown crafts," the pilot said. "No response to our hails." Eli's heart raced. He looked at Sari, who clung to his arm, her face pale. The captain ordered, "Defensive positions. Prepare to fight." The bridge shook again as the enemy ships fired beams of energy. The Vanguard's shields absorbed the blasts but weakened quickly. Eli moved to the weapons console. "Target the closest ship." The ship's laser cannons fired back, lighting up the dark space. Sari pressed herself against Eli, eyes wide with fear and wonder. The battle was fierce but short. The attackers, surprised by the Vanguard's strength, retreated into the shadows. "Is everyone okay?" Captain Rhodes asked. Eli checked his team. "No serious injuries." Sari finally spoke, her voice soft but urgent. Harcum." The crew knew she was right. For hours, the Vanguard traveled through the dark sector, every crew member on edge. The enemy ships were still out there, watching and waiting. Eli spent time with Sari, trying to calm her fears. "We'll keep you safe," he said. "No matter what." Sari nodded but didn't speak. Late into the next day, the ship's sensors picked up a signal, a distress call. "From the same species as Sari?" Eli asked the science officer. "Yes, but very faint." Captain Rhodes decided to investigate. Set course for the signal. The Vanguard moved carefully toward the source, navigating through asteroid fields and space debris. When they arrived, they found a small ship, badly damaged, and drifting near a dying star. Inside the wreckage were two aliens, older than Sari, and weak. Eli rushed in with the medical team. Sari watched silently, holding her mask close. The aliens were barely alive but still breathing. One opened its eyes and looked at Sari, then whispered a word Eli didn't understand. Sari stepped forward, reaching out to them. Family. The crew worked fast to bring the aliens aboard and stabilize them. Days passed as the Vanguard cared for the injured aliens. They learned more about Sari's people. Their home had been attacked by a powerful enemy who wanted to erase them. Eli felt a deep sadness but also determination. We must help them, he said, and find out who did this. The aliens shared stories through Sari, stories of a peaceful world destroyed by greed and fear. Eli realized their journey was more than rescue. It was a fight for survival. But danger still lurked. Enemy ships were tracking the Vanguard, waiting for a chance to strike again. The crew prepared for the worst. Eli looked at Sari, now sitting quietly with her new family members. We'll protect you all, he promised. Sari smiled faintly, her hand resting on Eli's. As the Vanguard moved forward, the stars outside seemed to hold their breath. The battle for Sari's people was only beginning. But together, they were stronger. Together, they would face the dark. The Vanguard moved cautiously through space, carrying the fragile survivors of Sari's people. The injured aliens rested in the medbay, watched carefully by Dr. Marina and her team. The atmosphere on the ship was heavy with worry. Eli stood on the bridge looking at the stars ahead. They had left the dangerous dark sector behind, but the threat still felt close, like something hidden in the shadows waiting. Captain, the navigator said, we have an unidentified ship on an intercept course. Captain Rhodes leaned forward, eyes sharp. Show me. The screen displayed a small vessel moving fast toward them. It was sleek, black, and without any visible markings. Unknown ship, the captain said. No communication yet. Eli's hand rested on the console. Do you think they want to talk? Or attack? Stay alert, Rhodes said. Prepare defenses, but hold fire unless provoked. The unknown ship stopped just outside the Vanguard's sensor range. A sudden message crackled over the comms. This is Commander Vex of the Carthar fleet, a voice said. We mean no harm. We want to talk. The crew exchanged glances. The Carthar were a powerful species, feared by many. Eli stepped forward. What do you want? Commander Vex's voice was cold but calm. We know what happened to your, passengers. We want to help, but first, you must prove your loyalty. Eli frowned. What kind of proof? Bring us the weapon that destroyed your home. We want it. We want to stop the threat before it spreads. Eli turned to the captain. Rhodes nodded. We have no choice. We search for the weapon, but carefully. Back in the medbay, Sari sat quietly with the two injured aliens. They looked tired but hopeful. One of them, older and wise, spoke softly. To Sari, the weapon is hidden, he said. Not just a tool, but a power. Dangerous and cruel. Sari listened, her eyes wide. We must find it before others do. The older alien continued. Eli joined them. Can you show us where? The aliens exchanged looks, then nodded. The Vanguard set course for an uncharted planet marked on Sari's star map. It was covered in dense forests and strange mountains. Eli led a team to the surface, including Sari and the two aliens. They landed near a quiet valley, the air fresh but heavy with silence. Be careful, the older alien warned. The enemy may still watch. As they moved through the forest, the team found signs of past battles, burnt trees, broken machines, and strange symbols carved into stones. Sari stopped suddenly, pointing to a hidden cave entrance covered by vines. This is it, she said. Inside, the cave was dark and cold. The walls shimmered with strange light. Eli held his flashlight steady. Deeper in, they found a small device, a strange glowing crystal surrounded by metal parts. This must be the weapon, Eli said. The older alien nodded. It is, but it must not fall into the wrong hands. Suddenly, shadows moved. Enemies appeared, silent, fast, and armed. A fierce fight broke out in the cave. Eli and his team fought bravely, but the enemies were skilled. Sari stayed close to the older alien, trying to keep safe. Eli saw one attacker aim at Sari. Without thinking, he jumped in front, blocking the shot. Pain shot through his arm. "Eli!" Sari cried. The fight ended quickly when the rest of the team arrived with reinforcements. The enemies fled into the darkness. Back on the ship, Eli's wound was treated. He looked at Sari and the injured aliens. "We have the weapon," he said. "Now we must decide what to do with it." The older alien said, "Destroy it. It has brought only pain." Captain Rhodes agreed. "We cannot let this power hurt others." Eli nodded. "We'll keep it safe until we can destroy it." As the Vanguard prepared to leave the planet, Eli stood beside Sari. "Thank you for trusting me," he said. Sari smiled, her eyes shining. "You saved us." Eli shook his head. "We saved each other." The stars outside seemed brighter now, a sign that hope was still alive. But deep in the shadows, unseen eyes watched. The enemy was not finished. The fight for survival was only beginning. The Vanguard sailed quietly through the stars, carrying the fragile hope of a small alien girl and her lost people. After the battle in the cave and the recovery of the dangerous weapon, the crew's hearts were heavy, but their spirits were strong. Eli stood on the bridge, looking out at the endless darkness dotted with shining stars. Sari stood beside him, her small hand resting in his. She no longer needed her oxygen mask as often. She was growing stronger every day. Captain Rhodes spoke calmly over the comms. "We will find a safe place for Sari's people to rebuild." Eli nodded. "And we'll protect them. No more running, no more hiding." The crew gathered in the ship's common room to celebrate the survival of the mission so far. The injured aliens, now rested and stronger, smiled quietly as they shared stories through Sari's help. Sari sat on Eli's lap, her violet eyes shining. "With hope. You're part of us now," Eli said softly. Sari smiled. "Family." The word felt warm and true. Days passed and the Vanguard reached a peaceful planet far from the danger they had faced. It was green and full of life, a perfect place for a new beginning. The alien survivors stepped onto the soil carefully. They touched the ground, feeling the life beneath their feet. One of the older aliens looked around and smiled for the first time in a long while. Home. Eli helped them set up shelters and shared human food and tools. Sari explored the forests with Eli, learning about Earth-like plants and animals. "This place is safe," Eli said. Sari looked up at the sky, the stars shining bright. Above them, hope. But peace did not come easily. One night, while the crew rested, sensors detected strange signals again. The enemy had found them. The ship's alarms rang through the quiet night. Eli rushed to the bridge with the others. "Enemy, ships approaching fast," the pilot shouted. Captain Rhodes ordered, "Prepare for battle." Sari stood beside Eli, holding his hand tightly. The small ships attacked, firing bright beams in the dark sky. But the Vanguard's shields held strong. The crew fought back bravely, pushing the attackers away. After a tense battle, the enemy retreated once more. Eli looked at Sari. "You're safe." She nodded but whispered, "More come." The crew knew the fight was not over. Over the next weeks, the Vanguard helped the alien survivors build a new home. Sari learned to smile again, playing with human children from the crew. The silent bond between Eli and Sari grew deeper. They understood each other without many words. Eli promised, "We'll protect you. Always." Sari's eyes shone bright. Family. Then came a message from the Carthar fleet, Commander Vex again. This time, the voice was different, calmer, even respectful. "We have watched your actions," the message said. "Your courage and kindness show honor. We offer peace." Captain Rhodes listened carefully. Eli looked at Sari. "Peace means hope." The Carthar proposed an alliance, a chance to protect Sari's people and prevent future attacks. A great meeting was held aboard the Vanguard. Humans, aliens, and Karthar representatives came together. Sari watched quietly but smiled when Eli held her hand. The leaders agreed to work together for a better future. With the weapon destroyed and enemies becoming friends, the darkness slowly lifted. The small alien girl who once gasped for air now breathed freely among friends. Eli looked at Sari and said, "You taught us all what family means." Sari hugged him tightly. In that moment, the stars outside seemed to shine just for them. The vanguard sailed on, carrying hope, friendship, and the light after darkness. Together, they were stronger than ever. Together, they would face the future.